Today's video was requested by my patrons. I want to thank them and you for supporting this channel. Since I've been doing YouTube, one of the questions that comes up pretty frequently is about gear that I've had the longest. Especially being pre-doing content on YouTube. You know, what did I have before YouTube, or when I started? Do I still have that stuff now? And I thought this would be a nice little series, since I got a lot of requests for this, to talk about some of the gear that's kind of like stayed the test of time, so to speak, that's still here. This is a Fender 68 reissue Princeton Reverb that is all stock. So I'm pretty sure I bought this in late 2013. I think I remember buying it somewhere around Christmas time of 2013. This is a 68 custom Princeton Reverb late 60s tribute amp. It's not based on an actual 68. It's just a late 60s hot rodded vintage amp that they decided to do as a series. This has a modified tone circuit. They actually were trying to optimize this series for using pedals. It has a custom made Schumacher transformer, has a reduced negative feedback to increase touch sensitivity, and overdrives a little faster than the 65 Princeton. It has a 10-inch Celestion 1030 speaker. It has two 6V6 power tubes with a 5A R4 rectifier tube. It has a 2-button foot switch that controls the reverb on and off and the tremolo on and off. This was essentially a hot-rodded Princeton is what they were kind of billing this as. And when I said this amp is all original, I mean even the tubes are the tubes that came with it when I bought it. I've removed the Fender badge somewhere. I don't even remember why or when, or if it broke, or if I don't even remember. But I've had it now way before the YouTube channel, and it's been in so many YouTube videos, hundreds actually, probably at this point. And I get this question: do I still like it? Do I still use it? And it's definitely what I would call my daily driver. It's an amp that's used very frequently with me. And I thought I would explain why I like it, why it's still around, and why I haven't modified anything. First thing I want to tell you is that there is one thing that I've added to it over the years. So this is a Dr. Z brake light attenuator. This is an attenuator. Now I use this one only because this is normally mounted inside the cabinet. I don't always use it, but I use it from time to time. And it's kind of not really safe to have out, I don't think, normally, because there's no back on this thing. So I'm just going to place it here, if you don't mind, out of the way. Okay. What I will tell you is that everything I'm going to show you today, unless you want this specific unit because of what I said, it mounts inside the cabinet. It can go inside the amp, which is where I leave it. And I have a bunch of these that I bought years ago, and it's stuck in a bunch of my amps. I really prefer the Tone King Ironman 2, the one that's set up for 30 watts. It's the smaller of the two. I think it sounds better than this. I think it's a little better than this, in my opinion. And the only thing is it has to sit on top of the amp. And then normally this cable you see here, this thicker gauge cable, this is not what you normally see in the Princeton, but I had to do some modifications today just for this video so I could pull it out of the amp and show you, because I wanted to show you what I'm doing with it. Right now, like I said, it's on 0. It has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So 5 spots, starting with 0. So 0 means nothing. So I have the amp mic'd up. It's with a 57. I have a room mic in here so I can kind of balance out what it's going to sound like when you guys hear this. A normal day for me would be tremolo off. The reverb is on 2. The bass is on 5, and the the treble is on like 8. It's just shy, it's about just on 8, maybe just a hair past 8. And then volume is about 2, and that's where I play. And I run in position 1, and it will sound like this. So I like the clean, but what I really like is that on this amp, there's really, for me, I mean, other than really trying to be quiet at night where I might go to volume 1 or something really low. I mean, that's not normal. Normally if I'm playing with this amp, I'm on volume 2. And this is what I love. I'm usually on 2 or 4. That's about it. I never really pass 4, maybe on the touch of volume 5. So I'm gonna start with the cleans, like I said. Now normally I'll have the foot switch engaged, and I can turn on the tremolo if I want, and the tremolo would sound like this. And I'll set the tremolo somewhere around on the speed between 4 and 5, and on the intensity on about 4. So subtle. I like the tremolo on this because it's really non-intense. I just like it because, like I said, if I play more intensely, I don't hear it as much. And if I play softer, there it is. It's just in the background. So I'm going to turn it off for the rest of the demonstration. Now, some of you are probably asking, what about the 65 Princeton? Well, that's what I had before this, and I really like that amp. And to me, the major difference to me, because obviously if you go to the specifications, there's going to be specific differences between the two amps. The major difference to me is the sound is a little darker on this amp. In fact, if you find this amp sounding a little dark in this video, or it's not very intensely bright sounding amplifier, and you like that sound, then the 65 would be the way to go for you. But if you're like me and you find the 65 sometimes a little too bright, and you're always dampening something back, that's where I think this amp comes alive a little bit more. Plus, this amp breaks up a little better. And some of that is the modifications they did, but also the speaker. They're using a Celestion, and it's a really inexpensive Celestion, and I've thought about upgrading over the years. But the reason I haven't is because a lot of times when I'm using this amp, if I'm not using it the way you see it right now, I actually run it like a head. You just plug a cabinet, and I'll run this into a cabinet. So anytime I want a different sounding speaker, I just run a different cabinet. Let's talk about why this power break attenuator is here. So let me go ahead. I'm going to turn the attenuator to, let's say 3. I'm going to run the amp up to about 4. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I turn the reverb down a little bit and I turn the bass off. Okay, sometimes referred to as a bass dump. So I'm sure you guys are going to love that. Anyways, so bass is at, well, it says 1, but we know it's 0. Now, if I want a little bit more gain, I'm actually gonna, the volume is now the master, or the volume is now the gain, and this is the master. So I'm gonna run it up to 5. This is 5. And you could add a little bass if you want, just to fill it up. Now, the other thing I like about this amp is because it's 12 watts and it's got a 10-inch speaker. And like I said, at volume 2, you have a really full sounding amplifier. It also tends to compress really quickly. In other words, you feel like the amp is kind of driven really hard. And if you run a pedal in front of it, like a little overdrive pedal, you get this immediate, like the sound you're getting right now. This pedal right here is an OD11. This is by Love Pedal. I don't think they make this anymore, but the importance is it's what a lot of people call as a transparent overdrive. The LPD68, the Temi, I'm not saying all these pedals are the same. I'm just saying they all kind of achieve the same thing, a light overdrive. This is the one I choose the most, although like I said, I tend to use the 68 a lot. So right here, I'm going to show you, here's the clean. Okay, a little overdrive. While it's overdriving, obviously the pedal is making the distortion, it's also driving the amp, and the amp is breaking up a little bit too. So the amp adds a little bit. It sounds like when you have a cranked amplifier, even though, like I said, we're at volume 2, and this is not bedroom quiet playing level, but this is definitely, you could play in a house. There's no way the neighbors are hearing this. And again, I wouldn't run that much gain, but there it is. Again, back to the amp. And of course, if you want tons and tons of reverb, I won't even take the reverb to 10. I'm just going to take the reverb to just past 5. Lots of reverb. If you go to 10, I mean, that's crazy. This is crazier. Now, the 65 does that as well. This is more intense. One thing about this amp is I noticed the reverb is really intense, and it really kind of goes from almost off to just intense. Now, I should also point out, when I bought this, I already had the 65 Princeton. So I had the 65 Princeton, I had the 68 now, and I would play them both, and there was things about both I liked, and ultimately I was like, okay, I don't know if I can justify two of the same type of amplifier if I'm not using them. And I would find that, you know, 9 out of 10 times I was going to this guy. Maybe this is an amp for you, but if you don't like it, keep in mind there's a 65 Princeton that is going to do a lot of things that this doesn't. Like I said, a little brighter. The clean, I think, goes a little higher before it starts to break up, something else you might really want. One thing I will tell you, how loud can you get this and still not break up? It's not very loud. It'll start breaking up, like I said. This is at 2. If we get to 4, we're breaking up. And of course, the more you go, it's just going to get worse. Let's just go ahead in there. And right now, I'm at, let's say 7. Let's go to 7, and we're going to turn that bass way down. This pedal is not on. And it's got that like fuzzy, going out of control sound. So again, may not be everyone's cup of tea. And that's kind of what this whole point of this video was to not demo or review the amp so much as just explain why I have it and why I use it. The predominant use of this amp is attenuation off in clean mode. Like I said, volume 2, like I originally said, the bass at 5, treble at 8, reverb about 2, and the tremolos bypassed. They would be, I said earlier I had them off, you know, turned off, but when the pedals engage, I would just have them turned off. And I think it loves boost. I think it loves effects. I just, it's a great platform. And the last thing you might want to ask is like this or the 65 Deluxe reverb. Now I have a 65 Deluxe reverb that I absolutely love. And I think if I only could have one, it would be the 65 Deluxe. And the main reason being that amp I can take and jam with other players, actually put it on the stage with a drum set and actually do something with it. This is really pushing it. Like if I'm going to go jam with some players, usually if there's no drummer or somebody on a cajon, or maybe they have an electronic set, I'm good with this. Or maybe if I know the drummer and I know they're not heavy-handed and they play a smaller kit, I'll grab this and throw it on a chair, and then I can pull it off with that as well. If I know they're gonna have a speaker cabinet there I can use, I'm not gonna drag one myself, but I'll run this into a speaker cabinet, especially a 212 or something like that. Something that takes a more volume, and the breakup will not be as quick. A lot of that breakup you heard earlier was because the 10-inch speaker just isn't gonna, you know, it just breaks up fast. What about the new Tone Master 65 Princeton? I've not tried it. I don't know if that's on your guys' radar. If it is, put it in the comments down below. I would gladly review that amplifier, but this amp is still here. It's still here. I've owned it for going on 10 years. So 10 years and still the original tubes. And that's I think I'll end it on this. I have not babied this amp in any way. It has been abused on every level you can think of, and it's still running, and the tubes are still original, and everything sounds great. Okay, that's my video on why I still love and keep my Fender 68 reissue Princeton. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did. I would love to do more videos like this. I have a lot of gear that I've kept over the years that's personal to me. If that's something, and if I'm reading the room right, so to speak, if that's something you're interested in, I would love to go over why I still have it, why I use it, and how I use it. All right. As always, guys, thank you so much for your time. Till the next time, know your gear.